Welcome to Tennessee's at-home learning series for literacy. Today's lesson is for all those fourth graders out there, though all children are welcome to tune in. This lesson is the 19th in our series. My name is Valencia Smith, and I'm a fourth grade teacher at Venus Stewart Elementary in Gallatin, Tennessee. I'm excited to be your teacher for this lesson. Welcome to my virtual classroom. If you didn't see our previous lessons, you can find them at www.tn.gov/education. You can still tune into today's lesson if you haven't seen any of our others, but it might be more fun if you go back first and watch our other lessons, since we'll be talking about things we learned previously. Today, we will continue our closed read of the text, The Legend of Keesh, adapted from Jack London's writings by P.B. Skinner. This means P.B. Skinner rewrote the legend in his own words. Before we get started, to practice fully in today's lesson, you will need 2 pieces of paper, a pencil, a surface to write on, the ELA student packet, grade 4, lesson 19, which can be found at www.tn.gov/education. Okay, let's begin. Today starts our 4th of 5 lessons based on one text. By focusing on one text for several lessons, we have time to think deeply about the text and to complete several closed reads. This means that we are able to read it many times for different purposes. As we have discussed in previous lessons, our text for this lesson is a legend. Sneak peek, tomorrow you will write your own legend. In the last lesson, we will look at all the characteristics that make the legend of Keesh a legend. Let's see what you remember. A legend usually focuses on heroic individuals or fantastic creatures and describes an exciting adventure. It may have some basis in historical fact, something that actually happened, and includes some supernatural events. Let's think where we encountered these characteristics in the legend of Keesh. First, who is the heroic character in our story? Yes, Keesh is our heroic character. What was the exciting adventure? That's right. The exciting adventure was Keesh's bear hunt. The setting is a special place. Where is it? Yes, the Polar Sea. Next, what supernatural events take place in the story? Good job, you remembered. Keesh is accused of witchcraft and using evil spirits to kill the bear. Let's look at our map another time. The setting of The Legend of Keesh is in a village near the Polar Sea, which is in the Arctic Ocean near the North Pole. I want you to close your eyes. Can you visualize the places I've been pointing out in each lesson? Let's do it again. Here's our map. Here's the North Pole, the Arctic Ocean, Alaska, and Russia. When we concluded yesterday, I asked you to finish the paragraph about what we inferred about Keesh through his words and actions. Think about how what you wrote is similar or different than mine. In the text, The Legend of Keesh, the author uses the character's words and actions to describe Keesh, the protagonist, as brave, intelligent, and generous. It can be inferred that Keesh is brave through his actions and words. Keesh hunting the bear, even though he is young, is an action that proves Keesh to be brave. Also, Keesh speaking to the council at such a young age is another example of bravery. Keesh can be viewed as intelligent. He devised a plan to kill a bear despite his age and described how he created the plan as headcraft. Finally, Keesh can be described as generous. When he killed the bear alone at 13, he shared the meat with the village. In addition, when speaking to the council, he stressed the importance of providing food for the needy. In conclusion, Keesh can be described as brave, intelligent, and generous protagonist that uses evidence by using evidence found in his words and actions. Now, check your paragraph for the requirements from the previous lesson as I checked mine. Did we introduce our topic? Yes. I used the introductory sentence we composed yesterday in the last lesson. Did you use a sentence or did you write a new one? Did we group the traits together? Yes, I grouped the information for each trait together. Check yours. Did we use details to support the trait? Yes, I gave specific examples for all 3 traits from the text. Did I provide a conclusion? Yep. I pretty much just restated the introduction. Check your paragraph. Did you include a conclusion? Link your thoughts together. A couple of ways that I did this was in addition, also, and finally. Look at your paper and quickly circle your transition words. Good job. Did we use precise language? I used language from the text. What about you? And use correct grammar punctuation. Check. Now, during our 4th read of the legend today, we're going to continue thinking about the main character, Keesh, the protagonist. Remember, protagonist is just another name for main character. We're going to consider the theme of the text. If you joined me for the Echoing Green lessons, you might remember that theme is the lesson that the author is trying to give us. As we read today, our focus question is, what is the theme of the text based on the author's word choices? As we talk through the text, I will draw your attention to the words and details that will help you answer the questions. Then, there will be a time for you to practice thinking about the theme. Finally, I will assign you independent work you can complete after the video ends. This is the same structure we have followed for all of our lessons together. Today, like always, we will capture notes and details about the text as we go. I'm going to start a new chart to take notes about the theme. Go ahead and write notes about theme at the top of your paper. This is our chart that we will use as we read the text. If you have a copy of the text, you can use it as we read together. If not, you can listen as I read parts. Also, don't forget to take notes on your own. Like in the last lesson, I will not be reading the full text. Instead, I have selected specific parts that I think will help us determine the theme of The Legend of Keesh. Remember, the theme is the message the author wants you to get from reading his or her writings. Just like we did with The Echoing Green, we're going to look for repeated ideas in the text. To narrow our focus a bit from our multiple readings of The Legend of Keesh, I feel like the author was trying to send us a message about leadership. But what message? The selections I have chosen should all give us clues to the message. As we read the passages, see if you can make some connections between them. Let's read the first selection I have chosen. Because his father's blood ran in his veins, Keesh was bright, healthy, and strong. When the village council met in the big igloo of Chief Kloshkwan, Kesh, despite his youth, spoke up. We used this passage in our last lesson as evidence for one of Keesh's character traits. Do you remember which one? Yes. Keesh is brave to speak even though he is young. Sometimes authors repeat words or ideas to help develop a theme. Because I remember that Keesh's age is mentioned several times during the text, I think the author might be trying to tell us something. On our chart, I'm going to add our first notes about leadership. Here, I'm going to use the author's exact words because I think they are important. Keesh, despite his youth, spoke up. Let's add that to our chart. Good. Now, on to our next selection. When my father hunted, he brought home more meat than any of the best two hunters combined, Keesh explained. With his own hands, he divided the meat, and with his own eyes, he saw to it that the neediest of the village received their fair share. The elders and onlookers jeered at the young boy. How dare one so young speak out in the council? Despite them, Keesh continued, you speak for your wives and mothers, so I speak for my mother, Ikiga, who should have her fair share of meat. All we get is grisly meat that's full of bones. After reading this, I need to ask myself, what in the passage tells me something about leadership? Did you hear anything? During this part, it seems like he showed leadership because he was willing to speak for all the people in the village who were going hungry, even though the elders and onlookers jeered at him. Let's put that on our chart. Speaks up for others. I think this line tells us something too. Should have her fair share of meat. What does it tell you about leadership? It seems that fairness is important here as Keesh speaks to the council. On our chart, I'm going to add fair share. Now, I need to look at this part again. What did you notice being repeated? How dare one so young speak out in the council? Yes, the author is mentioning his youth again. I think I'm going to write the whole line on my chart. It feels important. So we're writing, how dare one so young speak out in the council. I wonder what that tells me about leadership. I bet it will get clearer as we read. Now, as I read the next selection, remember to be thinking, what do I hear that connects the leadership? The village was abuzz with gossip. Everyone wanted to know the answer to the same question. How had young Keesh conquered a mother bear and her cubs? Even the smallest child knew that a mother bear is 3 times more dangerous than even an ice bear. There were some who were suspicious of Keesh and thought he used magic to slay the animals. Others were simply mystified. Regardless, over time, he gained popularity and respect, and people came to count on him to bring meat to the village. There was even talk of making him the next chief. What did you notice about leadership in that selection? Let me reread 2 lines. Regardless, over time, he gained popularity and respect, and people came to count on him to bring meat to the village. There was even talk of making him the next chief. To me, this line says a lot about leadership. The people who were talking about making him the next chief are a leader. Why? What qualities did he have? Here's what I heard. He was popular and respected and could be counted on. I think the author is giving us descriptions of a good leader. I'm going to add them to our chart. Be sure that you do too. So let's add popular respected, and can be counted on. As we continue to read the next part, think about how it might continue to develop a theme about leadership. I'm just a boy, Keesh explained. I'm ignorant of these things. I've devised a way to kill the ice bear with ease. That's all. It's headcraft, not witchcraft. Would you tell us how you do this? Can any man do this? Asked Clash Quan, not convinced. Any man can do this. Keesh finished sucking his marrow bone and rose to tell the group of his clever hunting tactics. What did you notice? There are two words that stuck out to me: headcraft and clever. I remember when discussing Keesh's character traits in the last session that we found quite a bit of evidence that Keesh was intelligent. The author is certainly supporting that with the two word choices, headcraft and clever. Let's add them to our chart. On to our next part of the story, of the end of the story. The council was satisfied and amazed by Keesh's story. And this is how Keesh rose from being an insignificant boy to becoming the head man of the village. As long as he lived, no one cried at night because there was no meat. What does this tell us about leadership? Take a moment to jot down your ideas on your paper. This tells me about Keesh becoming the head man of the village, so it is definitely about leadership. Keesh becomes a leader because the council heard his story and realized how intelligent he was to create the plan to kill the bear. I think we need to add that to our chart, intelligent. What else does it tell us about Keesh as a leader? The line, no one cried at night because there was no meat, lets me know that Keesh took care of the people even after he became the leader. So let's add that to our chart. Took care of others. Now, did you hear another reference to Keesh's age? Let's reread and listen specifically for a reference to his age. The council was satisfied and amazed by Keesh's story. And this is how Keesh rose from being an insignificant boy to becoming the head man of the village. And long as he lived, no one cried at night because there was no meat. Did you catch it? Very good. Insignificant boy is a reference to Keesh's age. Do you remember that insignificant means not important? The author showing that a not important boy became a leader. The author just kept giving us details about Keesh's age. I'm going to write insignificant boy to leader on our chart. Now, we're going to stop reading selections and now look at the information we have collected to see if we can make more connections. Let's review our chart. We took notes that we felt would lead us to the theme about leadership. We have Keesh, despite his youth, spoke up, speaks up for others, fair share, how dare one so young speak out in the council, popular, respected and can be counted on, headcraft and clever, intelligent, took care of others, an insignificant boy to leader. Are you noticing any connections between the notes? I sure am. I think I want to start from the bottom of the paper because I feel like the author really kept emphasizing Keesh's age. Beside insignificant boy to leader, what other notes are connected to age? I see two. Did you find them? The others are Keesh, desperate despite his youth, spoke up, and how dare one so young speak out in the council? I'm going to star all three of those. So that's one, that's two, and that's three. At the side, at the bottom, I'm going to make a key to show how they are related. So let's do a key here at the bottom. And we're going to write age doesn't matter because that's what the author is trying to say with each of those. Now, look at the ones remaining. In my head, I'm thinking, if age doesn't make a good leader, then what does? I see several actions in what we have collected. Can you find the ones that are actions? I'm going to place a check by the ones that are actions. And in my key, I'm going to make a check and write the word actions. So let's do that first. Here's our check, and let's write the word actions. This will help us put our ideas together to write. Let's see. Here are the ones that I'm going to put a check by as actions. Speaks up for others. Keesh, despite his youth, spoke up. I'm going to put a check over spoke up. Fair share. Because Keesh gave everyone a fair share, I'm going to check it. How dare one so young speak out in the council? I'm going to put a check over speak out. Popular, respected, and can be counted on. I'm going to put a check on counted on and took care of others. We have marked the actions with the check. Do you see any other connections? Yes. I see the rest are traits. Like we listed Keesh's character traits in the last lesson. Let's place a heart above each of the traits. I'm going to place a heart above popular, respected, headcraft, clever, and intelligent. Take a look at our key. We have pulled some big ideas about leadership. And let's add I forgot to add our heart for traits. Now, our key says age doesn't matter, actions are important, and leaders have common traits. Did you catch all this the first time or even the second time we read the text? This is exactly why it is important to read text multiple times. Our job now is to make all this into a statement of the theme. Take a minute and try to craft the theme on your own first. Saying it out loud might help you and get you where you want it to go. What did you say? I'm going to share a statement I thought of. Think about how your statement is similar or different from mine. Here's my first one. Good leaders are not determined by age, but rather by actions. I also thought of age does not determine a good leader. Instead, leadership is about using positive traits to do for others. Did you notice how in each I turned our key into a statement about leadership? The author is sending us a message about good leaders. It's time to take our chart and write. Today's task is to write about how the author develops a theme of leadership in the text, The Legend of Keesh. If you have joined me for all the lessons, you probably are a pro at writing the introductory sentence. Have you already started writing it? If so, you get a gold star. Now, what were you thinking? Take a moment to jot down your ideas. For this introduction, I know I need to include the title and what I'm writing about. Here's what I wrote. In the text, The Legend of Keesh, the author develops the theme of good leaders are not determined by age, but rather by actions. You can choose to use my theme or use your own words as we write. If you choose to use your own theme, you can use the beginning of my sentence and add your theme. In the text, The Legend of Keesh, the author develops the theme of and add your own. I think I will use the 3 areas of the key as the structure for the paragraph. Because I feel like age is important, let's start with age. How might you start the section on age? Here's what I wrote. B.P. Skinner repeats the message that leadership does not depend on age several times throughout the story. I think I want to talk now about how the author emphasized that Keesh was young through his words. How might that become a sentence? I wrote, he does this by using phrases to describe Keesh's age, like despite his age, and how dare one so young speak out in the council. Lastly, in the section, let's talk about the last part, insignificant boy to lead man. How might you write that? Here's what I wrote. At the end of the story, the author was sure to include that Keesh went from an insignificant boy to a lead man. Nice. We have our paragraph started. Yes, it's your turn. Here's your task. Please grab a piece of paper and copy down the task. I will read it twice. Use the theme chart. Write down how the author develops a theme of leadership in the text, The Legend of Keesh, as you write. Be sure to introduce your topic, group the traits together, use details to support the trait, provide a conclusion, link your thoughts together, use precise language, and use correct grammar punctuation. Again, I want you to use the theme chart and write about how the author develops a theme of leadership in the text, The Legend of Keesh, as you write. Be sure to introduce your topic, group the traits together, use details to support the trait, provide a conclusion, link your thoughts together, use precise language, use correct grammar punctuation. And today, for your creative activity, I want you to think about the traits that make a good leader and make a poster to identify these traits. Today was our last lesson reading The Legend of Keesh. Tomorrow, we're going to put together what we have learned from The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and The Legend of Keesh to write our own legends. I can't wait. Thank you for inviting me into your home, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson in Tennessee's At Home Learning Series. Bye-bye.